Continuing my top 10 favorite characters, I give you Doc Holliday from Tombstone. And I know what many of you are thinking, come on, that was a real person, they didn't make this guy up, he's not a work of fiction. And in many respects, yes, this guy did really exist and everything they technically say about him is true. Though Lord knows nobody really knows who confronted Johnny Ringo in that famous battle. But I think most historians and even moviegoers will recognize this is a very romanticized version of the Old West. Okay, not spaghetti western romanticized, but still romanticized. And Doc Holliday might be the most romanticized character of them all. He's a gun-slinging, poker-playing, poetry-quoting, elegant badass who lives every day like it's his last because, honestly, it could be his last. He had tuberculosis, so his thought was, fuck it, I'm gonna die anyway. In fact, his theory was he would always die with his boots on. Why? Because he didn't give a damn what anyone thought, so he was almost certain that he would die in a gun battle. But sure enough, at the very end, and after pissing off a great many deal of people, he still died in a hospital bed. In the very end, the joke was on him. But the film certainly played up that he was a very tragic, yet somehow also humorous character. He didn't give a shit about the rules, society, the law, his morals, his ethics, his drinking, his sickness. He only valued one thing, and that was his friendship to Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp was considered by many people a good man, and certainly one of the best lawmen who ever lived. And the fact that he would show someone that everybody has given up on the time of day definitely meant a lot to Doc. So, anything Wyatt wanted to do, even if it was to take down the entire cowboy gang all across the West, he would go for it. Even if it meant teaming up with Merle from The Walking Dead to do it. No, seriously, that's Merle. Every time I saw Walking Dead, I'm like, hey, that's the guy from Tombstone, wow! But I digress. The Doc Holliday in this version was probably a little bit more eloquent and romantic than the real was. I mean, obviously, I never met the guy, but from the descriptions, he was a little bit more hardcore, in that you wouldn't hear quite as much poetry from him. And he wasn't charming 24/7. He could be a very ruthless drunk, just like a lot of drunks can be. But that doesn't mean this character isn't still badass as hell. He's intelligent and wise, yet still walks down that thin line of the law. Sometimes a good guy, sometimes a bad guy, he just plays it by ear. If there was a person he didn't like, he loved pissing him off. He loved playing both the victim and the predator. On top of that, he was a great poker player. That much is true too. That means he had a clear understanding of the human psyche, at least when they were lying to him. It takes a great deal of skill to figure that out, and even more to figure out how to make a profit on it. Yeah, he was a drunk. Yeah, he had tons of weaknesses. Yeah, even he would make fun of himself all the time for it. Remember this scene? That was awesome. But all of that was okay because not only could he put his money where his mouth was, or should I say his gun where his mouth was, but he seemed like one of those people who didn't have many friends, but when he did, he held them very close. In fact, really in the movie, it seems like he only has two people he can count on. One is his girlfriend, which even the movie seems to exploit as supportive but also destructive, which he would inevitably leave in the end, and the other to Wyatt Earp, which he would never leave in the end. It's constantly walking that line between sanity and madness, but having that one trait that he can never turn back on, his dedication to his one true friend. And though much of it is romanticized, he still carries a lot of traits that deserve to be admired, and I admire them a great deal. I mean, obviously I don't agree with everything he does, but a character who in many ways loses so much of himself and yet somehow finds so much of himself just in how dedicated he is to another person, I think that is pretty cool. Like, out of all the people in the world, there's just that one he respects so friggin' much. Doc Holliday in Tombstone is proof of that. Half the time you want to smack him, the other half, you want to tip your cowboy hat to him. He's an awesome character, and I'm proud to have him in the number 9 spot.